and pass it to Vanessa.
Hi, everybody. Are you excited to talk about bread today? Yeah. Who's here to get a little dirty? Does anyone want to get their hands dirty today? Can you put your hand up if you're interested? I've got a couple. Okay. All right. I'm going to take you first. Come on up here, sister. You're going to be my dirty hands helper for the moment because I'm not going to get dough all on my fingers right now. Welcome, everybody. So today we're going to talk about sourdough. You can wash your hands. Lord knows where you've been, right? You just be prepared. If I call you up here, go wash your hands and then we'll get going. Okay. This is one of my favorite things. I absolutely love sourdough, so I'm so excited to tell you guys about it today because it literally changed my life. This was like my gateway to microbes, so it's super, super fun, and I hope you guys like it. So I say, Bready, set, dough! I thought that was funny. So my sourdough journey started in 2020 with a lot of other people, you know, where we're like, oh, there's a yeast shortage. Oh, it's an emergency. I was gluten-free at the time. And I was like, there's a yeast shortage. I need to learn how to make my own yeast at home. Heaven forbid my family be without bread. They hadn't had bread in several years. But I was going to do the thing. I was not playing around. I'm a prepper like that. I am not going to be left wanting. If there's something I can make at home, I'm going to make it at home. So during this process, I realized I'm not great at doing this yet. So I started looking on social media. I got on Instagram and I started looking at sourdough stuff. And my page suddenly filled up with sourdough. And if you guys aren't on social media, you know, if you watch one video all the way through, you're going to have an entire page of those. And I was like, this isn't working for me. I still want to see ducks and homesteading and all this other stuff. I am not going to have a page that's just sourdough unless I have a page that's just sourdough. So I started another page that was just for sourdough, and it was called Sourdough Spotlight. It's still a thing. And I started following all the sourdough creators that I could find. And every time I liked a video, I shared it to my stories, and I started building a community. So through these bakers from all over the world who literally send me messages with their contributions, and I just share them to my stories, I have learned so many things about making bread. So I'm super excited to show you guys how to do it. This is the most basic, dumbed down, anyone can do it. It's really hard to mess it up sourdough recipe. And you can make pizza crusts out of it. You can make buns out of it. You can make focaccia bread out of it. It is super basic and easy. And once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. You'll be able to do it forever. Okay? Are you excited? Yeah. Okay, good. So the thing that makes sourdough happen is wild microbes and yeasts and acetic acid. So what we're going to do is we're going to cultivate all the microbes that are in your home to create this bubbly little pet that will make your dough rise. It's powerful, powerful stuff. The thing you need to know about the sourdough starter is it will change depending on what you feed it. So if you feed it rye, it's going to change. If you feed it more flour, it's going to get stronger. If you feed it less flour, it's going to be weaker. So it varies, and there's lots of variation in the whole process. It's not super complicated. If you want it ready fast, you give it one sourdough. So 1 part sourdough, say 1 cup. You give it 1 cup water and you give it 1 cup flour, and it'll be ready, rip roaring, ready to go in just a couple hours. But if you want your sourdough tomorrow, you feed it 1 to 5 to 5. So you do 1 cup, it'd probably be more like 1 tablespoon. 1 tablespoon sourdough starter to 5 tablespoons water to 5 tablespoons. And that's going to take the whole day to rise. So when you do that, that strengthens your yeast. So that's what I want you to do leaving here, is to at least feed your sourdough starter 1 to 5 to 5 at the minimum. 1 to 1 to 1 is only for an emergency. Okay. So let's make a sourdough starter real quick. I have my helper here. We're going to get into it with this jar. Here we go. And all we're going to do to make a sourdough starter is we're going to take some flour and some water. So I want you to put, I don't know, 1/4 cup of water into your jar. Oh, that's a little heavy-handed. It's really not that serious. She could have put that much in there. It's not a big deal, okay? And then you're going to add flour. Yep. I'll try not to get it everywhere.
How much did you put?
Just put it all in.
How much? A quarter cup?
Yeah, about a quarter cup. To start off, we're going to do equal parts-ish. You want it to be sort of a thick paste, not necessarily like a pancake batter. It's not that serious. You don't have to be that crazy about it. Here, you guys want to come up here. There's 2 chairs. We can slide you right over here. I've been trying to put someone in that chair for the whole time. Like, someone sit in that chair. So all she's doing is mixing it. She's aerating it. And by aerating it and mixing it, that's going to introduce those yeasts and bacteria into it. So what you're going to do for the first 3 days is just stir it twice a day. You come in after that initial mix, 12 hours later, give it a stir. And then 12 hours later, give it another stir. And 12 hours later, give it another stir. And you're going to do that until your sourdough starter, that little jar, goes from just smush to poof, and it'll be full of bubbles. And that's when you know you've done it. You've captured the bacteria and yeasts. You're cultivating your own baby. Yes.
Keep it out.
Out. Yep. Out in the open air. For those first 5 days, you want to use a cloth cover so that those microbes can get in there. You want them to get in and eat and grow. And then after you get that initial burst of yeast activity, that's when we start to discard. So discard is a sourdough term that just means throw some away. That's all it means. And that doesn't mean you actually have to throw it away with sourdough. There is thousands of recipes for discard. So if you are like, I need to take out a cup of this starter, I don't know what to do, go on the internet and just type in sourdough discard and see what pops up, because you will get 50 answers. You could put it in muffins, pancakes, waffles, bread, bagels, like literally any baked good, you could put sourdough in it. You can even use it to thicken soups. Like, there are so many uses for this fermented dough. That's basically what it is. It's just a little fermented dough that you're feeding and keeping alive. It's like a pet. So you've done it. She's stirred it up. And all she's going to do now is try not to get that everywhere. Control the flow. Yes?
Fermenting nearby, is that a problem?
No, it's not. Sometimes I try to keep my kefir with a solid lid so it's not catching extra yeast from the sourdough. But the other way around, totally fine. You're just going to contribute more microbes to that initial sourdough startup. So it shouldn't be an issue. Each house is different. Every house has a different microbial profile. So once you take my starter home and you feed it, that's your starter. That starter collected the yeasts and microbes that are in your air, and now that's what it's cultivating. So just because someone says, oh, it's a 125-year-old antique starter, it's still your starter. The second it hits your house and you stir it up, it is no longer that starter. So just keep that in mind. And every time you discard and every time you feed it, you're adding more microbes. You're adding more of your environment to it. Yes. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You've got stir and then cover.
Yes. So you just want to cover it with like a cloth, or you can just do like this where you just put your lid on it like that.
Oh, okay. So here.
Yep, you don't want it to be too tight. All right, you did a wonderful job. You can return to your seat. Do you want to take home sourdough starter today?
Sure.
Do you want to take 12 days to make it, or do you want to add some of my starter to this so that it's ready to go tomorrow?
Not tomorrow.
Okay, 12 days. Well, you're going to have to stir it. So if we put my starter in it, you could stick it in the refrigerator after it rises, and you'll be fine for 2 weeks. Okay, so we're going to add some starter to this. Once we add my sourdough starter, is going to bubble up, and it's going to be ready to use tonight, like fast. So the difference between cultivating a sourdough starter at home and taking someone from someone else is about 12 days and a lot of stirring. So if you want to start sourdough today, take home a tiny bit of my starter, feed it, and you have a full-blown starter. If you really want to do the experience of stirring and feeding and sourdough every single day, absolutely, I recommend it, but it's not going to be super strong right out the gate. So just be prepared that your first couple of loaves might be a little sad. So just fair warning, but keep at it. And if you feel frustrated, Hi, I'm your local friend. I'm all over social media. You can message me and say, hi, Vanessa, I'm frustrated. I need your help. And I will absolutely help you troubleshoot and figure it out. So just understand that I'm here for you. I help people all the time. All right. So choice of wheat is very important. You don't want to make a sourdough bread with a conventional glyphosate sprayed, folic acid enriched wheat. It's not going to be healthy for your body. Now, there's a lot of good choices. I generally just use an organic all-purpose flour. It's not the most nutrient dense. I still recommend you eat it with another protein, so you're not eating it by itself. A PB&J is not a healthy meal. Okay, bread is a side dish. It's not a main dish. Even if you make it with these good grains, it's still a side dish. It's not a main dish, just for your blood sugar. So these are ancient grains. Einkorn, if you haven't heard of einkorn, that's like the original wheat. That one is best tolerated for people that have gluten issues. So if you have trouble digesting gluten, that's a good one to do. Emmer is also fantastic. So is Spelt. They offer different flavors. So I highly recommend playing around with it and getting different flours and trying them out. If you're going to get into ancient grains, get a grain grinder and order wheat berries in bulk, because those ancient grains pre-ground are so expensive. And when they have the wheat germ in there, they spoil faster. So when you have the whole wheat berry, that can be preserved forever. For pretty much forever. Like if you keep it dry and you have an oxygen absorber in there, that is a storage food. So you would just take out however much you need and grind it on the spot. And so you're going to have the most nutrient dense sourdough possible. Does that make sense? Yes.
If you use a starter from someone else and you add to it like rye,
Yeah.
a whole grain that you've ground,
Yeah.
is that okay?
Totally. You can put whatever you want in there. If it's a starch, go to town. It will eat it. It is happy. So you can switch. Say you want to make an all rye bread. You could take just a teaspoon of your sourdough starter, put it in a different jar, add water, add rye to it. That's called making a levain. So the levain is something you would do if you didn't want to turn your whole starter rye, if you just wanted to use one portion, or if you wanted to say make a sweet dough. Sometimes you'll make a levain for the sweet dough where you'll take a little bit of your starter and add sugar and flour and water, and that makes a stiff sweet starter. So there's lots of different variations, and as you get more into it, there is so much to learn, and it's very fun, because once you get the hang of it, it's like, oh, why didn't I know this all the time? Like, this makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. All right, who wants to get their hands dirty? I need a volunteer. You want to do it? All right, let's go. Let's go. My dough's trying to escape. All right. We have helpers. Thank you, guys. All right. So we're going to do my most basic dough. And I wash your hands, please.
Thank you. I was wondering.
That's the first thing you got to do when you get up here. Wash those mitts. Oh, my goodness. You can tell I have a 7-year-old at home that I'm constantly chasing to wash her hands. Wash your hands. Wash your hands. This is the most basic ratio. Yes.
You're recording it, so will this all be on?
YouTube and Insta. I'm live on Insta right now. So it'll be on Instagram too. So if you have to bail, you can watch it later or anything like that. Yeah, no worries.
I have a question.
Oh, yes.
I tried to make my own starter.
Yeah.
And I messed it up. I think that we all have to mess it up at least.
You got to mess it up at least once.
But one thing I was told was to add pineapple juice to get the right.
No.
Nope.
No. Sorry. That's a no. All right. I did not bring a measuring cup. So what we're going to do is, this is how precise sourdough is. It's not that precise. We're going to try to put 2 cups of water in here. Do you think you can manage that? This up to here is 8 cups. So we need to pour out to like here. Think you can pull that off? All right, you got this. He's going to add 2 cups of water. So this is in its most basic form. Each cup of water, we're going to add 2 cups of flour. So he's going to do 2 cups of water. We're going to do 4 cups of flour. Super basic, easy to multiply bigger and bigger. or smaller and smaller. If we do a single batch, just 1 cup of water, 2 cups of flour, that makes about a 500 gram loaf. So that's a little teeny tiny loaf or 1 pizza crust. So generally speaking, I say do at least 2 cups of water.
You sit down to the 3, right?
Got it? Down to the,
3 and 6.
yeah, to the 6.
That is almost.
Perfect. Okay, so now they need sourdough starter. For that, we have to decide, when do we want the bread to be ready? So if we want our bread to be ready today, we would have to put a bunch of sourdough starter in there for it to be ready to bake today, because it's already halfway through the day. So a lot of it's like timing and understanding, you know, if I put a little bit in there, it's going to take it all day and overnight to eat all of that gluten. If I put a lot in there, it's going to eat it a lot faster. I like to think of it like a buffet. So if you take 10 people to a buffet for 100 people and you say, you can't leave till you eat all of this, they're going to be there for a while. But if you take 100 people to a buffet for 100 people, they're going to crush that buffet and be ready to go out to the club or whatever they're doing, you know, go out golfing. At the end of the day, just think of it as a buffet. So you're like, I want it now, 1 to 1 to 1. I want it tomorrow, use less starter. So you guys are going to put, let's see, do you know what a tablespoon looks like? No, yeah. Mom's got it.
Like that.
Here, see if you could scoop out. Let's do 2 tablespoons of starter in here. Let's see how they do. I judge people's eyeballing skills. Do you guys judge people's eyeballing? Like, whoa, girl, that was a lot.
It should be a look.
Yeah, that's good. That looks pretty good. Give that a little glob in there. You might need to use the, there we go. I did not bring her all the tools she needed. That was my bad. I should have brought a scraper. Actually, we could probably use this scraper. There's lots of nifty tools. You don't have to have all of them, but these are called bench scrapers here. Those are handy sometimes. Perfect. So she's going to do 2 tablespoons of starter. So that means that this bread will be ready to shape late tonight. So probably like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, I could shape it and put it into the refrigerator. Okay. Here we go.
A little bit more.
Good job. Good job. Yeah, roughly 12 hours. And I watch it. So I love having a straight-sided container. So this dough I made last night, and it was up to about there when I put it to bed. Now this morning, took this dough, dumped it out, cut off a loaf of bread, this guy right here, and baked it. And then I just plopped it back in here so I could bring it for you guys to see shaping. But so this is how like forgiving it is. People are like freaking out. Oh, it's gonna not rise. It'll still rise. It's not a big deal. What I do once a week now is I make a big batch of dough. I'm talking 5 cups of water. So it's like 4 loaves, thereabouts. I make it and I cut them off into single loaf size balls. And I'll usually bake 1. And then the rest will go into the refrigerator and they'll sit there until I need them. So it could be the entire week before I touch that dough, and I'll pop it out, shape it, and bake it. And it's just as good, but a little more sour than it would have been a week previous. So that is a really easy way for moms or people that have really busy schedules who want to have fresh bread all the time to keep it in the house and ready to go. You guys got your starter in there? Perfect. Now we're going to add the salt. There's a lot of conflicting stuff out there. They say, wait to add the salt. It's called auto-lease. I don't do that because I am ADHD and I will forget to add the salt, and that is the fastest way to ruin a loaf of bread. Do not leave out the salt. It will overproof fast and it does not taste good. So here's your salt. If you want to add that in there, it's all measured already. Just dump it in.
Is this,
Yeah, you can just dump it in.
is this like a teaspoon or?
Yeah, it's 2 teaspoons. Yep. And then we're going to add a little bit of oil. I like the oil because it helps the dough to be softer. So when you add oil, sugar, eggs, butter, any sort of milk products, anytime you add that to your sourdough, it becomes an enriched dough. So an enriched dough is going to be softer and more fluffy. So if you're trying to do like cinnamon rolls, you add a lot of butter to that. there's a lot of butter in cinnamon rolls. Or if you wanted to do honey wheat bread, you put some honey, you use whole wheat. So there's tons and tons of ways to customize. Y'all, the sky's the limit. Go crazy. Okay, so you need roughly 2 tablespoons of that oil. I'm just doing avocado. You could do coconut oil. You could do butter. You can do ghee. You could do olive oil if you want. I tend to not try to heat olive oil. Just you could do lard. Lard would be good. Totally. You definitely could. Yeah, bacon fat. You could do tallow. I mean, there's so much ability to customize. Perfect. All right, now we're gonna measure in roughly 4 cups of that flour. So there's your scoop. This is the flour I use the majority of the time. I buy it at Costco. Would I love to be grinding my own grain all the time? Yes. Do I have $500 to buy myself a nice grain mill right now? No. So we're doing what we have to do. Sometimes you have to make do. Yes.
You know, something I was doing great for grinding grain is Vitamix.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I do.
I wish I had $600 for a Vitamix. Yeah, that's fine. Yep. Here, we'll just put the stirrer into the sink. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. We'll put it in the sink. We're done with that anyway. And so while he's adding that flour, yep, you can stir it just like that. We're going to mix it in.
Then you can do 3 more. Okay.
Yep, once we get to the 4th cup, we're going to start watching it. Because if it starts getting really hard and really dry, we're going to know we overshot it or we're heavy-handed. I have this recipe set up that it's very flexible, and you're probably going to have to either add a little bit of flour or take it really slow for the first couple of times, just until you know if you're just like, some people are heavy scoopers, some people are light scoopers. And you're going to see what it looks like and know from there if I need to add or if I need to next time slow down a little bit. I generally use a mixer. I highly recommend a mixer. A mixer is really helpful, but if you don't have it, you don't have to have it. You can absolutely do it like this. You could do it by hand. You don't need a special dough whisk. It doesn't take that long. It's not that big of a deal.
3 of them?
Yep, let's do 3 and then we'll see where Mom's actually looking pretty good there. Yeah, I don't know if we're going to need a full 3. Let me show them what we got going here. So right now it's kind of a sloppy batter. We're going to add some more flour to that still. There we go.
Maybe only add half of that.
Yeah, like don't dump. Do like
a shake.
Shake. Let Mom mix a little more. If you add too much flour, it's okay. It's bagels. Okay. That's it. It's easy. So as far as mixing, you want to mix it thoroughly, because if you just kind of slop it together and throw it in a bowl, you're not going to get any rise. So mixing helps to develop the gluten, and it helps to align those gluten strands to help it rise and hold in. Basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to trap the bubbles that the yeast creates. So the yeast will rise that dough. But to do that, we want to build structure in the gluten. If we don't build the structure, it won't hold the bubbles and they'll just come out and you'll have a flatbread.
Is there too much stirring?
Let's see. No, there's no such thing as too much stirring. No. I've left my mixer going for so long. Okay, so we're going to add just a tiny bit more. So it's still pretty sticky. We're going to come in, give it a little bit more, like just do like the tip of the flour thing. Yeah. And just sprinkle a little bit, not all of it. And I'll let you mix a little more. That's probably fine. All right, Mama, mix that. And if you want to get in there with your hands, you have washed your hands, you're allowed to do that. Pretty straightforward so far. How many ingredients was that? 5? How many ingredients are in store-bought bread? Too many. That's right. So we're going to want to keep mixing until our dough is elastic and cohesive and stretchy.
So it's kind of sticky.
It's still sticky. A little bit more flour. We're going to feel it. We're going to look at it so we really get a handle on what we're going for here. Mom's getting it. She's doing it. I love it. I knew someone would want to get dirty. It is glutening. It's doing the thing. Yeah, that's about the point I gave up on the dough whisk too. I was like, nope, that's it. I've whisked all I can whisk.
But I need to keep doing it until, like, what kind of stickiness?
You want it to be semi-sticky still after the first mix. So the first mix, we're going to mix it up and we're going to let it sit for a little bit. And we're going to come back in and we're going to do what's called a stretch and fold. So that's where we're just reorganizing the gluten again. So we're going to grab under the dough and pull it up and stretch it. She can actually practice doing that now.
Is this the right?
You don't want to tear it, but yeah. Here, let's de-goo your hands real quick. Okay, I'll let you scrape as much as you can off of there and we'll wash. And we're going to show you guys some stretch and folds here in just a second. Let's let the dough sit.
Okay, so it has enough.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay, I'll just...
Yeah, you're good. So let me show you guys real quick. She's still got some flour in the pan here. So it's starting to come together. It's still kind of sticky. That's not necessarily a bad thing because as you build the gluten structure, it's going to become less sticky. And I often handle it very daintily at this point because you're not wanting to try to rip it. You want to keep it cohesive. So you can just kind of pull up and flop it over. And that's a stretch and fold. You pulling up and flop it over. Just like that. And it's going to get more easy to do that the longer it sits. So now that I've done a couple folds on it, it's going to sit for a little bit while we do some shaping, and we'll do another fold and I'll show you guys how much more cohesive it'll be. And you could sit here and work it if you really want to, but I am the ultimate lazy baker and I will work it as little as humanly possible because I have other stuff I want to be doing. So we're going to set this back over here. Let me wash my hands now. Thank you guys for your assistance. You can return to your seats. Clap for our helpers. Thank you. All right, I need someone who doesn't want to get quite as dirty, but still wants to touch some dough. Who's volunteering? Yeah, let's go. Let's go, sister. All right, I don't have a lid for this. Let me put this on here maybe. Hi, wash your hands, please. Filthy animals. Proofing, yes, we're about to talk about that. So, proofing is what they call letting your dough rise. So it's just another convoluted term that somebody who made up sourdough invented to confuse everybody. They couldn't have just said, it has to sit. They have to say proof. They have to say bulk ferment, and you're like, what does that mean? So that's the buffet. That's when your yeasts and bacteria get to go to the buffet and eat their treats. So you had a little tiny bit of your sourdough in there, and you fed it a whole bunch of stuff, and you made it into a dough, and now it has to sit and eat that. So it's at the buffet now. It's resting. We're going to go in there and mix it up and like make it take a shot. Just kidding. We're going to mix it to redistribute our gluten. And once that's redistributed, it helps to strengthen it. We'll let it sit again. So this is going to be a multiple step process. Are you ready? All right, let's move that cutting board over there. This is what they call a dough dump in the sourdough world, where you just flip that sucker upside down and yeah, I thought you guys would like that. Isn't that fun? I know, it's very sloppy. So you could touch that and you can see it's not sticky at all. So this I made last night at 9 p.m. and it's been sitting on the counter for that whole time. I did cut some bread out of it. So this is called a bench scraper. This is the best tool for shaping bread. It helps a lot. It helps you to build surface tension. So what you're going to do, I'm going to show you, and then you're going to do one. We're going to get into surface tension next. I'm going to get this out of the way. All right. What is your name? Ashley. Okay, Ashley. I'm going to walk you through how to shape this bread. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to build surface tension. So what that means is we're trying to make the top skin on the bread as tight as possible. We want it as tight as possible so that it can hold in all of the air. When the air is held in, that's what pushes the dough to rise. Okay? Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay, perfect. So what you're going to do is you're going to come in here and you're going to grab one side and you're going to pull it and flop it over on the other side.
More
Here,
aggressively?
let's do here. So I'll do one and show you what I'm talking about. So you pull and press it on top like that.
Oh, on top. Okay. And then you just change.
Do the next side. Yep. We're going to do all 4 directions. And if it's sticky, you can use your bench scraper to help you get it up. Okay. So now we need to go this way.
For a particular reason, or?
We're just trying to get them all into a square.
Right.
So then the next step is to roll it. So
So there's only 3 sides.
Oh, I did one of them. You did 3, I did 1. Did you do 2? I thought you did 3. All right, I'm gonna just get that. There we go. Okay, so now we roll it. So you take it under here and you're just gonna, hold on. We'll do it together. I'm gonna do one too. 1 second. All right, you guys probably can't see me with this in the way. So we already did this part. It took one side, and you just pull it up, smush it down. This is called shaping, but they call it like the package, the postal package or something arbitrary and stupid, like all the sourdough terms. Okay, I'm going to get a little oil. I'm going to get you a little oil too, because I feel like this is going to make it a lot easier. So put your hand.
Both hands?
Yeah, just oil your hands up. This will make it a little easier so we don't get super covered. Okay, so you're going to kind of grab the dough and roll it over on itself. Just like that. Ta-da! You did it! Good job, Ashley! Congratulations! All right, I'm so impressed.
And I'm on YouTube now.
Yay! And you're on YouTube, your YouTube debut. I'll make sure to send you the link. And if you want to oil that pan up. So, after shaping, there's a couple of different things that you can do. You can bake it right away. You can go, I'm going to bake it tomorrow, and you do something called cold proofing. So cold proofing, they use something like a banneton. These are just to help your bread to hold shape. You could use a bowl. You could put it into a tin, whatever your preferred baking method is. I prefer to use a tin. I am a lazy baker. If you use a tin, your shaping doesn't matter that much. If you do a terrible job shaping, it's still going to get tall because the sides will hold it in. If you want to make fancy bread, you have to be a little better at shaping because it will go flat if you don't get that surface tension right. So just be prepared. So Ashley's going to put this into this tin, and I'm going to put this one into the banneton. Generally speaking, you're going to want to flour this. I suggest using rice flour because it's not fermenting to get rid of the gluten. So if you're doing this for gluten tolerance reasons, use rice flour for your dusting because that part's not fermenting. So at this point, you could pop this in the refrigerator and it could be in there for a week and you could forget about it and it honestly would still be fine. So you really don't have to be worried about timing that much. Once it hits the fridge, you're good to go. Thank you, Ashley.
You're welcome.
You can wash your hands. Now there's one more shape that a lot of is common for sourdough, and it's a boule. So that's the circle. And to shape a boule, which is not my favorite thing, but it is what it is, you just want to pull up from each side to the center, that, and then I just roll it over, and you kind of pull it tight on the counter, And that really develops the surface tension. Okay, just like that. We have a nice tight ball. That's also what I do when I'm preparing pizza crusts and other things that start with a ball as the base. And then you would just pop that into your Banneton, and that can go into the refrigerator. What do you think? Was that hard? It's a little sticky, but it's not hard, right? Perfect. So we'll go to the next page. After your bread has been in the refrigerator, or if you decided not to put it in the fridge, you're like, I want to bake it right now, you're going to want to score the bread. So scoring the bread helps some of the gases escape, but in an intentional way. So you want to score it so the gases escape where you want them to escape, so that it doesn't just blow out the side of your loaf. Does that make sense? So on this loaf here, I scored the top. If I hadn't scored it, it probably would have blown out the side. So that's just how you keep your bread looking pretty. It doesn't have to be crazy. You can just slash the top. I usually score using scissors. So I just go snip, 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 snip across the top. And it's perfect. And I do it right in the pan. No worries. It's easy. You want to use a really sharp blade, or a serrated blade works really good. So use your bread knife to score your bread. How convenient is that? And then you're going to want to bake it. So baking it is important to use steam for the first half. Sourdough loves steam. So that's why you see people who use Dutch ovens. I personally am not a fan of the Dutch oven. I think it's super heavy and unwieldy. So I don't do that. A ton of people do. If you do use a Dutch oven, stick it in the oven, let it preheat while your oven's heating before you put your stuff in. I have one of these bread mats. This is a way that you can flip your bread out onto this and score it before you put it into a Dutch oven, so you don't burn your little nuggets. You don't have to have this. This is just an optional tool. You could also use parchment paper if you want, if you're dead set on a Dutch oven. You don't have to have a Dutch oven. You can open bake is what it's called. It's just using your oven is what open bake is. Just use your oven. So you add steam to it. So there's several different ways to add steam to the oven. My mom did a cast iron pan with lava rocks in it, and she poured hot water in it. I have a big cast iron pizza pan that lives on the bottom of my oven. I'll pour hot water on that. I'll throw some ice cubes in there. You want to trap steam however you can. Recently, I have been doing a nifty trick. If you like sandwich bread, or you don't care if it's in a loaf pan, you can create a mini Dutch oven using another pan. So this is how I baked that loaf there, by flipping this on top. This is a lot lighter. It's a lot less annoying. You don't have to preheat it. So I highly recommend this method. If you have two pans, I mean, go get another pan from somewhere. Not nonstick, you guys. Not nonstick. I'm serious. No nonstick pans. The plastic covered, yeah, they're bad. Not good, not good. So yeah, halfway through your bake, you open the lid. So generally speaking, it's about 20 minutes with a lid on, or the cover, or having steam in the oven. And then halfway through, you take that off. That's when you start developing the crust. The reason we use the steam is to keep the crust soft so it can rise more effectively. Okay, so I use steam for anything I want to get really fluffy. When I make focaccia bread, I put steam in there. When I make any bread that I want to grow, that's when you use your steam. The internal temperature of your bread in Colorado only gets up to 200 degrees. So if you want to know if your bread is done, 200 degrees is as high as it's going to get in Colorado. I tend to pull my bread from the oven at 190 because it does continue to cook after it comes out of the oven. So the art of cooling. If you don't cool your bread, the middle of your bread will be gummy and gross. So you want to take it out and put it onto a cooling rack of some fashion, so it's elevated, there's airflow underneath it. If you set it directly on the counter, the bottom of your bread will be soggy. If you put it directly into a bag, the whole bread will be soggy. So don't skimp on the cooling time. It really helps a lot. The only breads that are like, eat it right away is focaccia. Focaccia, you eat that one hot. That's one you don't have to worry about. So the reason all this stuff matters, why it's so important to ferment our grain, is it breaks down the anti-nutrients. It makes the gluten more digestible. It actually breaks it down for you. So almost all of the gluten is gone if you long ferment it. This makes the nutrients in the grain bioavailable to your body. The microbes pre-digest it for you. So all of the good stuff, the beneficial nutrients that your body would normally have to extract from those grains, which takes a lot of effort, I might add, it's already extracted for you. So it's very, very powerful. I do want to show you guys how to cut a loaf of bread really quick, just because some people don't know how to cut a loaf of bread. So I'm going to show you. It's not that hard. If you like a really thin slice of bread, I recommend putting it in the refrigerator an hour or two before you cut it, because when it's cold, it cuts so much easier. Some people say, oh, it's blasphemy. You turn your loaf, for a sandwich loaf, you turn the loaf on its side so it doesn't get smushed. And you just come in with a serrated knife, always serrated. I like a long knife. Just like that. That's all it is. So we're going to have, who wants to cut bread? He wants to cut bread. Okay, come wash your hands. Yay. He's like, I just want to eat it. All right. There you go. All right. Perfect. Are you guys full of questions? Are you? Okay. Questions. Hi. Yes, Ashley.
So I'm sometimes cooking at 9,000 feet.
Okay.
Is there a big difference there?
So you would probably still pull at 190, because the higher elevation you go, the lower it'll be. Same with like pressure canning.
There's no added extra water or any of that spring.
No,
Okay, great.
no, nothing crazy. In the back.
How would you treat starter that has been in your fridge unused, made previous estimated price being?
How much starter is in there? Is there a lot in there, or just a little tiny bit?
Quarter to half cup?
So if your sourdough starter is lost in the back of your refrigerator and you haven't seen it in 6 to 8 months and it has a layer of hooch on the top of it, you can bring it back. All you have to do is tip it and scrape some starter out from the very bottom. And you take that starter and you restart it like you're making a brand new sourdough starter. So it takes about 5 days usually to bring it back. So you would just discard and feed. But it's exactly the same process as making a brand new starter. It just speeds it up, cuts the time in about half by using your sad refrigerator starter. Okay? Yeah.
So hooch is the liquid?
The liquid is what they call it.
So I get hooch sometimes after 2 weeks.
Yes, and it will. And it'll get worse and worse. It'll get more and more. My mother calls it yeast pee. So that's just a sign that they're hungry. So you can pour it off. You could stir it in if you like really sour sourdough. Stirring that hooch in, it's got a lot of acid in it, so that will make it more sour. But yeah, it's just a sign that it's hungry. Yes.
So that loaf there is technically not gluten-free.
It's not gluten-free. No, it was not made with a gluten-free flour. It was long fermented.
Okay.
Yes.
But you can make it.
You could make...
Is it airy if you make it gluten-free?
No.
I don't think so.
Gluten-free, homemade gluten-free sourdough bread, in my experience, and I really gave it my all, is not very good. So it doesn't rise like regular glutinous bread. So you basically, it's almost like a quick bread. It's more like a banana bread or something. If you added in, say, like conventional yeast, you might have better luck with that on top of the sourdough. So you can like ferment the grains and then add the conventional yeast before it's time to bake. So you're still getting the benefits of the fermentation from the sourdough, but it's not the thing that's actually leavening it in that case. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
And when your starter comes out, and I took it out of the fridge, poured off the hooch.
Yeah.
And it doubles after you feed it. It doubles.
Yeah.
So it's good to go.
Yeah,
Or-
you should be good to go if it doubles.
and what if you're not good to go?
If you stick it back in the fridge.
Just stick it back in the fridge, and then will we have to refeed it again?
Maybe. It depends on how long you wait. So the way I do my sourdough starter, it's pretty straightforward. I don't really discard. What I do is I use all of my sourdough starter, but like a tiny, tiny bit. And then I feed it 1 cup of water and flour until it is a thick paste, like actual dough in there. Like you cannot stir it. You're going to break your stick. That's why I got those, like the wooden stick, because I kept breaking chopsticks trying to stir my starter. So you, you make it really, really thick. And once it has eaten and it's grown, if you pop that in the refrigerator at that point, it'll be ready to use anytime in the next 2 weeks, straight out of the fridge. So then you just pull it out of the fridge, take what you need out of it, feed it again, let it sit. And I use that sourdough starter as a timer for my bread. That's why I feed it so thick. So it's like having a mini loaf of bread in my sourdough starter jar that's got the same consistency as my dough. So as my starter rises, when it hits the double point, I know it's time to shape my dough. So it's almost like having a backup visual for me, so I know when things are ready. It's always an option. Yes?
We want to transition to Einkorn wheat.
Yeah.
We have a strong starter.
Yeah.
How would I do that?
You would take a teaspoon of your current starter and feed it Einkorn.
Just keep feeding it Einkorn, and then when I make the loaf, just feed the whole thing in Einkorn.
Yep.
Wow, that's expensive.
Yeah, it can be. That's why I definitely recommend buying in bulk. Buy grains in bulk, get a grain grinder, get on Azure Standard, get you some big buckets with a screw top and just stock up because it keeps forever. It's like a forever storage food.
And the source was called what?
Azure Standard. Yeah, they have pickup locations. You got a better one? There's a local spot.
Azure Standard purchases from Golden Organics.
Oh, you can go to Golden Organics local. Is that in Golden, right? Or is it in Boulder now?
Maybe they used to be, but they're
I
in
think they used to
Denver
be.
off of either Federal or Pecos.
Golden Organics, guys.
And
Local
it's
wheat
open
berries.
in public, but my understanding is you can only pick up your orders on Fridays.
Oh, okay.
But, I mean, that's where Azure gets their
Perfect.
bags from.
Thank you. Thanks, Andy. Yes,
What about using oat or buckwheat flour?
you can. You definitely can. If you can make a starter out of oat flour, you can make a starter out of buckwheat flour, but you're going to be lacking the gluten structure from a wheat flour. So it might be very similar to doing like the gluten-free bread. You'll get some structure from the gluten in the oats, but not like full on wheat. But you could add some in. So you could like do part buckwheat, part.
Well, I was wondering if it would be good for making like flat bread,
Totally.
or hardtack,
Totally.
or
Yeah,
those kind of biscuits that last a long time.
you definitely could. And I bet you could even use the whole grain and ferment it with your sourdough starter and then like grind it or whatever. My mom makes whole grain pancakes and waffles in her blender. She puts the whole grains in there and soaks them overnight and then like blends the grains.
Cool.
There's so many different things you can do with it. It's crazy. I know you had a question.
I've been trying to transition to like doing like all whole grain.
Yeah.
But it's a little
Tricky.
tricky.
Yeah.
So I've been doing half and half.
Yeah.
I haven't been getting a nice as rise as the other, so I don't know if there's any tips or tricks.
Are you using steam and everything like that we talked about?
Yeah, I've done.
You've done steam. You might be doing, is it not rising or is it dense or what?
It seems like it's more dense than.
So you probably need higher hydration. Yeah, you likely need more water. Your dough's a little too dry. The whole grains tend to be very thirsty. So if you're making a bread with whole grain, you just need to be aware that you're going to need more water or to get a good product because it will soak it up.
And what size pans are those?
These are, I think they're 1 pound.
Just one thing.
Yeah, they're like bakers. Oh, you're cutting? I thought you were cutting. Supervise, Mom's supervising. Get after it. We got to cut it up to sample size, Mom. So after we cut slices, we're going to cut it into little ones. Yes, Karen.
Can you tell us about your sourdough process? I try to do like Detroit style where it rises in.
Oh, I would do it just like I would do that like my focaccia dough if I was going to do that. It's the same exact thing. So you just basically overproof it in your pan. So I would make that dough that we made earlier, wherever it is. I would make this dough, do the folds, let it bulk ferment, and then separate it into the Detroit style pan, divot it, and just let it sit until it puffs up to the level you like, and then top it and do the thing. Let me get some oil in my hand before I make a mess. I'm going to show you guys real quick while we're doing this because we're talking. You can still continue asking me questions. Yes, Don.
If I were to go to a multi-day festival,
Yeah.
lots of people that are, ascending to a new reality, etc.
Yeah.
And I bring my sourdough starter. Do I get the value of all their microbes?
Totally. Yeah, you have to feed it near them. Here, guys, come here. We're going to have a tent. All right, so what I'm going to do now is called a coil fold. So to do a coil fold, you want to oil your hands or wet them, and you're literally just reaching under your dough and pulling up. Thank you. And letting it fold under on itself.
What is this you're doing now?
It's called a coil fold. So this is a way to help to develop the gluten. It's a different type of stretch and fold. So grabbing under the dough and just lifting up, and you let it fold under. So this is something you would do every 20 or 30 minutes during the process if you're doing it by hand, if you want it to have really strong gluten development. See how it's becoming less sticky looking? It's starting to smooth out and it becomes tighter. It won't stretch as much as you do it more. That's how you know your gluten strands are developing.
And that would be towards what kind of bread?
Any sort of bread. The more coil folds you do, the more airy pockets you'll get. So if you want an artisan loaf, you want to do the coil folds and the stretch and folds. If you want a sandwich bread, I say put it in the mixer and beat it to oblivion because that's how you get smaller holes. So better for spreading butter and avocado on. That's my personal preference. I'm not a fan of bread that the butter falls through. That's just me, Any other questions?
How can we follow you again, Valerie?
Vanessa. I am on social media. I am on Instagram a lot. I also have a YouTube page now, so I'm trying to post all of my lives to YouTube because I know we have different demographics and not everybody's into social media. So I figure that's a safe place. So it's Holistic Hargroves everywhere. Holistic Hargroves, Hargroves. It's my last name with an S on the end. Yeah, so I have a couple things fun going on right now. I just released my book. I put it on sale for you guys, so I took $10 off if anyone's interested. It is a digital download ebook. All of my recipes are in there. My bread recipes, all my favorite things. It's not a crazy long book, but it's very informative. It's got like 140 pages, I think. So if you'd like to download that, regular price is $30. I dropped it for you guys to $20. And then I have a group coaching, microbiome coaching program coming up. So if anyone needs imminent help and you want to learn how to make everything I know how to learn and want to learn all the nervous system regulation and the circadian rhythm, it is a nerd fast for 12 weeks. So if anyone's into that, you can find that on my website or you can email me to talk more about that. There's my info if you need it. My group coaching starts June 1st. We're going to have live Zoom lessons every week. So it's going to be really fun. Yes.
Back to a bread question.
Yes.
On just regular yeast breads, that used to letting it rise once, knocking all the air out of it, forming it into a loaf, and then let it rise again, or else actually letting it rise twice. But this one, you're not knocking the air out of it?
No, usually you're trying to keep the air in it if you're making artisan loaf because that's those big holes. I don't knock it down ever, really.
Or your sandwich loaf,
I don't usually need to. The yeast tends to go really, really fast. Sourdough bread isn't as fast, so it's not going to be as full of bubbles if you let it sit, if you time it right. Yeah, so you don't have to knock it down. You could. When you're shaping, you're basically knocking it down. So, yeah, it's just slightly different.
But you don't let it rest in for a while before or you don't have to.
You don't have to.
Before you make it.
Yeah, no. Usually that's the cold proof. Like people will put the dough into the fridge after they shape it, and that'll finish the rise and fill up that pan a little more. Sometimes I shape it and let it sit, and sometimes I put it right in the oven, and the effect is pretty much the same. It'll be a little taller if you let it sit longer. Yeah.
If I remember, you have a really interesting health journey of restoring your health.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people might.
Yeah, well, definitely. When I was in my early 20s, I thought I had arthritis. I hurt everywhere. My bones hurt. It hurt all the time. And my mom was just getting into Weston A. Price. And so she was like, I think you should do the GAPS diet. I was like, what does that mean? And so she gave me the GAPS book, and I went gluten-free, and oh, shocker, all my joint pain went away. So in my early 20s until I was 30, basically, I was gluten-free for a very, very long time. But I wasn't like all in on my health journey. I was still like eating anything I could that was bad. I was still highly infested with candida. I definitely had major issues with my microbiome, and I was sick all the time. So that all lied in blood sugar regulation issues. So in 2020, I found sourdough bread, and I realized, holy cow, I can eat this. Why can I eat this? I thought I couldn't eat gluten. I thought I was broken. I thought I couldn't have gluten ever again. Well, it turns out I wasn't actually allergic to gluten. I have an intolerance to glyphosate. Huh, weird. Who would have thunk it? And folic acid, because I have that MTHFR break, and they put folic acid in all of the grain if it's conventional. So those two things removed from my diet completely changed my health. And as I learned more about sourdough, I started learning about the other microbes. And that threw me off the rails. You guys, I was like, what? How do we not know about this? Why don't they teach us this in school? And I started learning about blood sugar regulation. And I started learning about genes. And I started learning about, metabolic health and circadian rhythm. And so I am just obsessed with all things health. And I have taught myself everything that there is to learn at this point. If you have any new topics that I should look into, please let me know.
SIBO yogurt.
I have that. I have the SIBO yogurt. I brought yogurt cultures with me. Yeah. So I started teaching on Instagram. And then obviously I came and taught with you guys, and that got the attention of Sally Fallon from Cheryl's help. Cheryl was like, Sally, look at my friend. So now I'm speaking at conventions and teaching classes. And so it's been super, super fun. But yeah, I went from really, really sick, definite PCOS, major blood sugar issues, parasites, candida, all sorts of nasty stuff to where I am today. And I feel like I have never felt so good, honestly, in my entire life. So yeah, hope I can share that with people and help them learn how to do it too. Because it's not that hard. It's really not. You can do it yourself. Now that I know I could fix myself and I could fix other people, I know you could fix yourself. Because it's not that hard. Yeah, you got this. Who's going to take home sourdough starter today? Yay! Good.
You want to clear your space? We'll give everyone bread samples.
Yay! Thank you. Yeah, let's do it. Did you try some? Not yet. Oh, it's all good. All right, we're gonna clean up this mess. I might actually just put this back in here. Boink.
Did you have certain tests to find out you had intolerance to glyphosate?
Nope, I just figured it out. Okay, I gotta get off my live stream real quick. Oh, you have a question? We're protein first. Always eat protein first. Yeah. All right, everybody, I'm hopping off.